Behind the Song series. I've got Lacy Green with me today, and Lacy's got 2 songs on the record that she wrote with me. We wrote Magic and Only Two People together. And I'm super excited about Lacy. We met probably like 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
And she's just doing really cool things as an advocate for songwriting. She's got a lot of projects going on at the moment, and as you know, I wanted to do this series because I just don't feel right about putting out a record and not featuring the people behind the scenes, because I'm a writer and I know how much they're the secret geniuses of the world. And so I just wanted to talk to Lacy a little bit today, and we're gonna tell you, we dug up some old lyrics that we found on Only Two People. I guess we wrote it on the 29th of August.
Yeah.
2017.
2017. I was thinking on the way over here, I was like, I have to remember we went through a couple different writes with this song. Like, we spent a lot of time on it, and I was like, I have to remember where we actually started. And you pulled out this notebook, and it's hilarious. The first page of lines, I don't think there's a single line on the first page that actually made it into the final draft.
And to just show you, like, this is just a mess of lyrics that ended up, you can see some of them are the original, but or what ended up making it. But this was, it was kind of cool. I used to write all my lyrics in a notebook. I've now since gotten with the times and type it. But what's cool about that I did this is that I was able to reference it easily. Just be like, I remember we wrote it 2017 and pull out the book.
Yeah, you lose the edits when you put it all digital. I remember when we started writing together and you had your notebook, and I thought that was so cool. I was like, I love when people like write in action notebooks. Like, it's, kind of
it's a lost art.
It is a lost art. Like, you get in these rooms and, like, have these computers and everything can get kind of sterile. And I remember when I met you, I thought that it was so cool that you were still writing in your notebook. I loved that.
Well, so the way that this came to be, I remember now, like, I had this idea, the only two people in the world, something about that, like how when you're in love, you really do feel that way. And the challenge for us was picking a perspective, because we were either going to write it like a very obvious you and me, which is what we did here, looks like. We had, like, in the back of the cab, at the front of the line, at the top of the Ferris wheel, shameless and painfully obvious the way I feel. They didn't like it, but we didn't care. We didn't even notice they were there. That was a verse we had at some point.
Right. None of it is in the final song now.
Yeah, do you remember why did we decide to shift perspective? I feel like that was the right, I like it better the way that it is, obviously, but, like, do you remember what happened? What made us shift?
All that I remember about the beginning of it, because I think we got together on this song 2 or maybe even 3 times, but I know at least twice we got together on it. And I remember that idea, the only two people in the world, was so compelling. And I remember just thinking that is such a cool place to start. And I think because it was so cool, we were just like, we need to explore it from like every possible angle and make sure that we write it in the way that is super cool. I think we always had the idea that, like, the only two people in the world ends up being, you and I, whoever is in that song. Right. But we weren't sure when we wanted to reveal that. Like, we wanted to tell the story of the only two people in the world, like we were removed from it, and then kind of show that change of, when you feel like the only two people in the world, and then when you wake up and realize, like, oh, things are different now. But,
no, that's a good point.
I think we were trying to figure out where in the song we were going to reveal it, I think maybe was part of that.
And the challenge with that was that we had to hint at that, these details, like, you wouldn't know them unless you had lived it.
Yes.
Right? But we couldn't say details so much like the only two people in the world wore flannel shirts and blah, blah, blah. Like, we couldn't be so detailed that it, like, was obvious that you were, talking about yourself.
Totally.
So we picked, I think we, that's why we did the sat in a car at the top of a hill. It was vague enough where it could happen to anyone, but it ended up being these two people.
Well, to me, this is one of my favorite songs of that, of that year. And I'm so glad that it wound up on your record, because to me, it's just like this little storybook. Like, we've all been there, or if you haven't lived it, like, you can see that movie kind of in your head of when you're in love and you are so in love that you kind of become blinded to everything else around you. Mm-hmm. And so, like, this whole, picture of these people moving through the world like they're the only two people there, when actually, they're probably completely surrounded this whole time. I just call it the MMA because it's short. Hashtag
Monetization Act that just got passed. That didn't happen on its own. We had a lot of senators fighting for us. We had a lot of songwriters. We had people in Nashville taking trips to Washington D.C. to make awareness about this, and Lacy was one of those people. So if you could tell us just a little bit about, I guess, A, what was the challenge? B, in your words, what has changed?
Sure. Well, I got involved with the National Songwriters Association, NSAI, just a few months after I moved to Nashville, several years ago. I met Bart, who is the head of the whole thing over there, and he involved me, and they invited me a few years ago to go on a trip, and I've since gotten to go on 4 or 5 with them, and it's been an amazing thing to watch. I mean, there is so much to know about all the ins and outs of publishing and legislation and all the things that go into that, and I still have so much to learn. But it's been a real blessing to get to go and experience that and get to just be basically just a representative of songwriters. I mean, the easiest way to explain it is that songwriters are the smallest small business, and we are under kind of crazy regulations as far as how we can be paid and how we can negotiate. And it's different for us than it is for artists. It's different for us than it is for record labels. And so what NSAI does in a nutshell is just try to advocate for songwriters, try to catch our laws up to modern day digital technologies and streaming services and all these things, and just trying to get our legislation caught up. Because I think streaming is great. I think, people having access to all the music that we have access to now is an incredible thing for artists and songwriters. The issue is just making sure that we know how to fairly compensate the people who are creating this stuff that we really love. And so that's what they do, and, just lobbying for those rights and in Congress.
But it worked, right? It passed, and we've gone.
Yeah. So it's working. Is how I would describe that. There's still plenty of work to be done, but the Music Modernization Act was passed last spring, I guess it was. We're still sort of waiting to see what the effects, how that's going to roll out. Kind of. There's a music licensing collective too, I think the MLC is what it's called, that they've been putting together to sort of help try and just enforce some of these new things that were presented with the MMA, and just trying to get again, it's basically just, without getting too deep into the minutia of it all, it's just trying to catch our laws up to the streaming service. I think what makes the challenge of all of this, what makes it so hard, is that the music industry itself is just really fragmented in how money passes from person to person, through labels and publishing and writers and artists and streaming services and radio and film and TV, and we have just all of these different people who are coming to take a seat at this table, and so trying to build a consensus amongst all of us. Anytime you want to change anything in a major way, building consensus among all those players is challenging, and songwriters are a really, really small
piece of that.
But I would argue the most important piece, because songwriters are where all of it starts, but we have a little bit of a harder time sometimes getting the negotiating power. That's really hard and complicated, is because every song is different. It depends how many people wrote on it. It depends on what you're publishing deal looks like, and what, how much you get paid out to begin. What does your draw look like? So these are all, it can just get really convoluted really fast, and there definitely, I think, over the years have been people who had a vested interest in keeping it convoluted.
Right.
And I think, as we progress in all the other areas of our industry, we just want to make sure that our laws progress too,
right,
so that creators can keep creating amazing things, and the quality of that can stay high. So check out David Israelite though, because there are people that, I've been really fortunate to go on these trips, but it's a complex issue, and there are people who know it really well and explain it really well, and I'm not one of those people, but you should
I think you did a good job. But check out Lacy Green. I'm going to post some links about her. She's coming out with a new project. What's it called? The side gig with Aaron and Seth?
Oh, so I have a trio called The Wonderful Nobodies. And we're putting out a project at the end. Well, we're hoping to have some new music out in the next couple months. But definitely having some music out early next year, hopefully. And
but you have stuff online now that I'll post the links to, and you can check out Lacy.
Yes.
But hope you guys enjoy a little behind the scenes. We're going to do another one on magic, so stay tuned for that. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.
About love, but you never think it's you that's blind. The only two people in the world.